Hello everyone and welcome to this brand new channel. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. As you can see, it's a brand new channel ready for the new Premier League season, and I'm going to try and bring you Premier League content as frequently as I can, and hopefully you do enjoy what you do see. If you do and want to be part of the journey, just please like and subscribe, and hopefully you'll see the channel grow and grow, because that's what the aim is here. But let's just get into it. So as you probably see on YouTube at the moment, everyone's trying to predict the 23-24 Premier League table. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here today. Obviously, not going to get them all right. The Premier League's so unpredictable. As last season, Bournemouth one of the favourites to go down and stayed up quite comfortably in the end. So we'll see if I look stupid, and then maybe come back towards the end of the season when the final ball is kicked and see how we did. So let's get into it. So yeah, I'm just going to use Premier League table predictor on BBC Sport because I'm just starting out, so I've got no fancy editor or fancy animations that I can do, so this is probably the best I can do. But yeah, they give us the 1 to 20th, and just pick the teams and see what we come up with. So obviously 20th, I'm going to go from 20th, so bottom to top, and to be fair, this did change. So I did have originally this team to 19th, so it wasn't like, a big change. But recently, in recent events, I'm going to have to put Sheffield United. I just think that what's happened around the summer, I did think they were going to struggle anyway, but with Sander Berge going as well now as Ndai, it's going to be such a struggle for them to try and compete and stay in the league this year. Any Sheffield United fans watching, I do want to know what you think about how the club is at the moment. I know there was a big debate around the budget that you might have. People say it was 20 million. So do you think towards the latter stages of the window with the Ndai money and Berge money that you probably will you reinvest? But I don't think that if you do reinvest it, you're not going to reinvest it in similar players or of that higher calibre. So no disrespect to who does come in, but I do feel that it's a bit of a hard one. I think a lot of teams in this list are struggling with the finances, so I think Sheffield United's been caught at the wrong time. So yeah, sorry Blades fans, I do think it will be a bottom finish for yourself. And the team that I originally did put bottom, and now have moved up a place thanks to Sheffield United troubles, is Luton. So yeah, I do think Luton as well. Their first season in the Prem, they've chucked a bit of money at it. Probably not as much as teams have in the past. We've seen Forest chuck 30 odd signings last year and 150 million. But for me, Luton have brought in players that are top end championship quality. So I don't think that's going to hold them in good stead. I think they'll get a good year's experience and then drop down, and they can definitely use that to build on for next season in the championship to then make an assault on the Premier League again and be more equipped. Because there's no one, I don't think, probably apart from Nakamba, and there's no one in that squad who has been a regular Premier League player. And I do think you kind of need that, or big experience of obviously, as you can see the Forest in the background, I'm a Forest fan, so I do think Forest last year had someone like Keylor Navas who'd been in that big experience of big games, but Luton don't have that, and it's a shame. I do think they're going to cause some teams problems at Kenilworth Road. It's a very tight pitch, close to the stands. The fans are right up for it, so I do think they'll get a few decent results at home, but I just think they will fall short. So, sorry Hatters, but it'll be good seeing the Premier League. We do like seeing new teams in the Premier League each year rather than the same old. So, yeah, it'll be refreshing to see. And for the final team I've got going down, so again this changed, and I did have Forest, and they are going to be the team above this team, and I'll go on to that in a minute why, but it's going to have to be Wolves. I think any Wolves fans who are watching or who do this themselves will probably put themselves in a similar sort of position. I just think it's really financially troubling at Wolves at the moment. Don't know the exact extent of that because I don't follow Wolves in that depth. I just know that they haven't got the money to spend. It's been rumoured. Raul Jimenez, he's not since he fractured his skull, he's not been that much of a goal scorer, but you still want a goal scorer. They've lost Diego Costa, who went on a free. I know he didn't score goals, but just to have again that experience and someone round there like that, a fighter as you will, might have done them well. But they've got rid of him, and obviously the departure of Neves and Collins. Really, I think off the top of my head, I think it was around 60-70 million they got for the both of them, and it's not been reinvested. They've got the same amount of players that they had last year. And Guedes has come back, but again, he had 6 months and stunk up the place and went on loan to Benfica. So there's many problems if you look at the teams, the players that Wolves got rid of. Moutinho, again, experienced player, Adama Traore. If you knew you didn't have the funds to bring in players, probably, and the wages at least, you'd have saved, maybe try and get a deal to make them a bit more solid and stay. So again, I don't think the funds are there. I think the thing is why I didn't put Wolves in there originally until the news broke this morning that it was like Lopetegui is going to leave with Gary O'Neill coming in. Wolves have got the manager but haven't got the players. Since last year when they stayed up at the start, when they were struggling, they had the players but not the manager. So I think Lopetegui was a good manager. He did well the second half of last season to keep them up and steer them away from relegation in the end. I think probably around April time they've stopped looking over their shoulder in a sense. But with him gone, I know Gary O'Neill did wonders, but does lightning strike twice? And if he does, then maybe we'll have a different conversation about that. But if he does come in and Lopetegui does leave at the time of this recording, then hopefully we'll be proved right on that. So the next one I am going to do is Forest. So Forest were originally in that bracket of relegation, and a lot of people didn't have Forest there for this because they thought, what we did last season with Steve Cooper and the way we finished the season. But I've seen Forest's pre-season. We've not scored many goals. We've conceded quite a few. It's took us ages to get a goalkeeper in. I know 30 signings aren't going to walk through the door and we're going to sign everyone again, but I don't know. It don't like. I think we're spending within our means again and having a budget, so it's going to be difficult. But I think with other teams around us, we might just scrape to stay up. Brennan Johnson's a big one as well. If we can keep hold of him, it'd be massive. If we lose him, then this could go either way. The 16th, I've gone for Bournemouth. Probably the surprise of the summer was when they set Gary O'Neill. They've got a new manager in now, and people are saying that he is a very good manager. So if he can adapt to the Premier League, Bournemouth might be, pushing mid-table. But I think they've brought in some good players, but they still haven't replaced Lerma, who's a big physical presence that will be missed. And it's always a risk bringing in someone who's not Premier League proven. Gary O'Neill did well. I think he should have been rewarded over at least, first few games at least. But they've made the change. If it comes off and they stay up, then it'll be a masterstroke by the owners. But if not, then they could be in trouble. But I do think they'll stay up. I think what was mentioned, probably the 4 teams prior. Bournemouth do have that money to spend. Alex Scott's another one from Bristol City that look like could get done, which is a blow to Wolves, who wanted him as well. So they're bringing in faces, and I think they just will do enough to stay up. Moving up now, probably, 15th is high for them at the moment, but I don't think they'll be comfortable, is Everton. Everton are really going to be solid under Dyche this year. He's got a full pre-season to implement his way. We know how he likes to play. Compact, grind out wins, 4-4-2. But I do think under that solid regime of Sean Dyche, he definitely will make them more harder to beat. Obviously, we've got Goodison, their last season at Goodison. They'll be wanting to make sure they don't go into a brand new stadium in the Championship. So, the only thing for Everton, I think they do need another striker. I know the young lad from Sporting Lisbon is coming in. Is it Cheremeti, I think? But I don't think, again, experience and goals at this level that you do need. If Calvert-Lewin gets injured, which he is prone to, Everton do struggle. He's not a fan of Morpay, which we've seen towards back in the last season when you're playing a winger rather than an actual striker in games that you need to win. Obviously, it did work, but in that time, you're thinking we'll play your striker if everyone's injured. So Calvert-Lewin being fit is a big plus for Everton. If they can keep him fit for 25 games at least, then he will give Everton something that, I was towards the back in last season scared when Everton had Calvert-Lewin fit, because he was that, source of goals and that vocal point for Everton. So when he got injured towards the back end of the season, I felt a bit more that Forest could pull away from that. But I think Everton will be fine, but again, probably hit and miss, but I think they will grind out enough. To 14th, right, what teams have we got? I am going to go for Fulham. Falling probably quite dramatic. I think they finished 9th last year, was 9th or 10th, and now 14th. But I think Fulham fans, you've got to take that, especially, everyone thought he was going to go down last season with Bournemouth. So I think that they're not going to suffer second season syndrome as bad as, relegation form, but there's still so much up in the air. I do think Marco Silva will go at some point, whether or not that be sacked or another offer for Saudi Arabia. But if he doesn't, and the owner is contemplating sacking Marco Silva, you've got to think that he has turned down like a lucrative contract and did so well last season. So I do feel that you need to reward him with that loyalty if you do struggle. I think Mitrovic could leave and you replaced him with Jimenez. So is he going to have that output as many goals as Mitrovic? When he had that lengthy ban, Fulham really struggled, and I think they will again if Mitrovic does leave, but they'll just have enough to get a few points on the board here and there, and then just solid mid-table, which I think they would take. 13th, right, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty mid-table, and I'm going to go for Brentford. And the big thing for Brentford, and what everyone probably is saying why Brentford are going to be lower than they were last season, is obviously even Tony's ban. I think they will struggle at the first half of the season. It doesn't look like they are going to bring that striker in, which I get, because why are you going to bring in a striker that's, is going to play second fiddle in the second half of the season? Even Tony, got 17 points worth of goals really for Brentford last year, so it's going to be a big miss. But when he comes back, I think they'll just have that enough. But again, I think Brentford being in mid-table at the moment will push them on, and they'll take that. 12th, and probably, which 5 years ago, if you'd have told sort of Burnley fan that when they got promoted again, people would be predicting them finish mid-table in the Premier League, they probably would have laughed. But that's exactly what Vincent Kompany's instilled in this Burnley side. He's instilled this belief and terrific, style of play. It's not the 4-4-2 we're used to under Dyche, which Everton fans will probably now be synonymous to. So I do think Burnley will play some attractive football. I don't think they're going to be comfortable as they was. This is the Premier League. You don't have a few seconds. You only have a half second on the ball to make decisions. The press is high for a lot of teams, but they've got that quality, and I do think that they're going to be able to kick on. They've brought in some fantastic new additions, but I think keeping hold of Vincent Kompany is going to be the main one. Maybe even a new contract at some point. But if they definitely can keep hold of him, then kick on, and who knows? We've seen it with Brentford last year. So if they can kick on, who knows? 11th, we go for West Ham. People obviously have put West Ham a lot lower in their predictions that I've watched, but the money is there, and I do think they will spend. I don't know if West Ham are being cautious because they know that their teams know they have money now to spend, so I don't know whether or not they're going to use that to their advantage or not. So that's why West Ham aren't probably bidding left, right and centre for players, but I mean, they have got the funds there if they do need to spend it in the end, and they will, which they have shown. McTominay, Maguire, a few names. Alvarez looks like he's coming in. They've got rid of Skamaka, so they are incomings and outgoings, but they'll be solid. They haven't got to worry about. I think the Europa League won't be a big adventure like last season, so they'll get the money. They'll probably enjoy a few outings in Europe, but mid-table, which is better than last season. So dead 10th, it's got to be Crystal Palace, hasn't it? I think Crystal Palace are the most mid Premier League team. They finished around that position last season. Nothing too dangerous in terms of relegation. Nothing too pushing for Europe. Roy Hodgson's implemented the way he wants, which is good for Roy Hodgson. I didn't think he was going to be that much of a good addition when he came in. So he's done really well. He's got Eze. Hopefully they keep Elise, because I think Elise was fantastic towards the end of last season. Just missing that striker, I think, to take him to the next level. But 10th with life after Wilfred Zaha, you're going to take it. 9th, I'm going to go for Brighton. I don't think it's going to be as good as last year. You know, they had a terrific season last year, but you've got teams that underperformed. You know, the likes of Chelsea and Spurs. I'm going to get onto very soon, but I think as well the Europa League is going to be a distraction, and probably they have got ambitions to win a trophy or get to another close to a final they did last year, and try and bring a trophy home to the fans who now are seeing a different Brighton. But again, a few years ago, if you're saying to Brighton fans, would you take ninth in the Premier League? I think they would. You know, they've got a European adventure. Obviously, if they can kick on, they're fantastic. But you know, there's still the Casado debate. There's still if he's going to leave. McAllister went. So I think, and Colwell's another one that people forget that obviously was only on loan. So if they can, you know, play the way they did last season, I think it will be a very good season. But just no European football again, unfortunately, to Eagle fans. Okay, now we are getting into the difficult parts to pick. But 8th, I've got Tottenham. I do think that it's going to take a while for Postecoglou to get his point and philosophy across. I do think it'll take a while for him to buy into that. There's still the big Harry Kane debate if he's going to stay or not. So I do think 8. I do think it's going to take it. Even if Harry Kane does stay, I think they'll score a few goals, but just implement it, try and win a trophy, and then chase the European football. Well, you do get European football if you do win a trophy, but just try and break that trophy duck of nearly going on 20 years without a trophy. So it's a long while. If Postecoglou can bring a trophy in 8th, I think Spurs fans, will you take that, or would you rather have the European football and no trophy? Just let me know down below what you think. But I think 8th, I just think there's the teams around them are just going to push on and do so much better. And probably a kick in the teeth for Tottenham fans that the former manager will, I think, finish above them, Pochettino, but only 7th for Chelsea. I do think it's another transitional season. I don't think they're going to push into Europe as much as you probably would have expected. It's crazy to say that they've spent as much money as you thought they would, because they have spent so much in the past. But see, Vlahovic could come in as a big one. If not, you know, Jackson looked okay. He looked good in pre-season, but obviously it is pre-season. It's a new league. It's the physicality of the Premier League. He's quite young. You know, and Cuckoo's just been ruled out for potentially 4 months with an injury. So I think Pochettino to try and bring in his brand of football again to get used to after, you know, like of Tuchel, Potter and Lampard of last year, new manager. And one thing I think he will do is he'll bring, you know, the young talents come good. Look what he did to Dele Alli when he was at Spurs. Can he do the same for like the likes of Mudryk, who looked, you know, not an £80 million player last year? So I just do think 7th, think a trophy, and 7th again. Chelsea fans, would you take that? 6th, I'm torn. I'm just going to put Villa there. I do think Villa will get into the Europa League regardless if they win the Conference League this year, which you think they would do with the mastermind that is Unai Emery in European competitions. But yeah, they've recruited very well in the transfer window. I think they are missing just probably a second striker at the moment, but Ollie Watkins did enough for that on his own last season. But with the play that Unai Emery likes to do, the 4-4-2, you know, where sometimes Bailey's there, sometimes Buendia's there, would an extra striker be beneficial for Ollie Watkins? But you know, the Conference League is going to act as a distraction. But as we've seen last season, Villa were excellent that second half. Probably, I think, was it only Man City picked up more points than them. So yeah, I think they'll finish 6th, but I wouldn't be surprised again if they strengthen it maybe in January or next year and then push on to maybe even finish in the top 4. But obviously that's a long way away. 5th will be the team that actually finished in the top 4, which not many people thought, and that is Newcastle. Haven't spent as much as I thought they would. You know, obviously, I mean, Tonali and Barnes, which was probably in excess of 100 million plus. But I mean, like proper people, like proper signings who I thought they'd break the bank for, you know, world class stars. I'm not saying the players they haven't signed aren't world class, but you know what I mean. Ones that will take them to that next level. You've got the teams that, you know, in and around them which will come good. It's going to be tight to cling on to the Champions League spaces, and I do think Newcastle will, worst case, drop into the Europa League. I think they'll finish 3rd in the Champions League group if they do, and don't finish 2nd, or in any case top, wherever they drew. So you've got that European competition that's going to be lingering in the background. You know, I do feel that that could act as a distraction. So they'll keep they maintain the high standards they set, but I do think they'll fall short and finish fifth, which again, it's not a bad season from where you was a few seasons ago. The Champions League maybe come too soon, but you know they broke the duck. They know what they can do, so they know they can push on and get it again. But I just think they'll miss out. Into the top four, obviously we've got the 4 teams left, and so got Liverpool for fourth. I think they will bring in signings, but they're messing around with midfielders. You know, paying 50 million for an excess of someone who plays in the Championship at the moment, when you could get other deals out there. You know, you're saying Thuram from Nice was apparently too high. Obviously, I don't know how much the figure they were quoted, so might have been 80 million, 100 million, who knows. And don't have that to spend on just one player, which I do get, but just the depth in midfield. You know, they've got the attack, they've got the defence sorted, they've cleared out some of the deadwood. You know, the likes of Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Milner in a sense, but I don't think they can rely on Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott this season to take them forward. I think signs will come in, but there was times last season when obviously they did have some bad results and really results that they should have won, especially after I think it was a 7-0 after against Man U, and then they go and lose to Bournemouth the week after. Probably cost them a Champions League spot in the end. Yeah, I think they'll be desperate to get in the Champions League. They'll push for that, and I think they will do it. I think probably a good European run in that as well. Without their winning, I'm not too sure, but we'll see. But I know they're going to bring in some midfield reinforcements still, so that's why I put them in the top 4. Third, Man U. I'm gonna, say they're still not quite there to compete with the top 2, which I'm going to put obviously out of Arsenal and City now. You know who's left, but I do think they've improved in the squad. You know, Ten Hag's got the players he wants. Everything for me is like Hodgland. I think that's how you say it, but how he's going to fit in, he's going to score goals. You know, he's a young lad coming in, same as Martial did, and Martial did get the hype, but didn't perform. Is he going to be another one? And if Hodgland doesn't work out, then you're stuck without a striker again, and that's Man U's biggest problem. And obviously, I've always said going for Harry Kane, but I think obviously, well, no, but he does want himself to Bayern Munich, Daniel Levy, let alone an English club. So, but yeah, it depends if he hits the ground running or not. It depends if United are going to go on to that next level. So we'll see. But I just think they will finish third. Second, I've gone for Arsenal. I've been, tad boring who I've picked as a winner for the league again, but I do think Arsenal, too much is happening too quickly. So they're back in the Champions League after I think 6 seasons now. A few failed Europa League campaigns in that time as well. They are a very good passing side. They are a very good team. They've recruited well. It looks like they do want to chuck the money at it now, which they haven't done in the past. But as I say, too much is happening too quickly. You've seen the strain of last season, what it did. They had that experience now, but I do feel like, as I've gone to a minute with Man City, they can just pull away. And Arsenal will just focus on trying to stay in and around that title race for a bit, and then after probably maybe next season, embedded a few more signings in, then kick on, and then potentially challenge the eventual winners, which I think Man City to the league. Feels like it's going to be the Pep dynasty continuing, and 4 in a row. But yeah, the City are too strong. Yeah, they've lost Mahrez and Gundogan, but they brought in Guardiola, the centre back from Leipzig, very good signing. And they've just shown they can do it. Last season they were competing on 3 fronts, and they still managed to win 12 Premier League games in a row, which was just incredible. To have that pressure, maintain that pressure they had on them, and to maintain that high standard is just incredible how they did that. I think they'll do that this year. I think they'll win it as a canter, but I do think it's going to be close. But I do think they've just got enough experience and enough quality to go there. And if they got into January and they were needing just another midfielder, for example, to fill that Gundogan void, if Kovacic doesn't step up, or another winger that they're linked with, I just think they can just go and spend that, which other clubs obviously can't. So yeah, a bit boring, but I do feel that Man City are still the team to beat, and they will be this season. But yeah, so there is my 20-1 Premier League table. So I don't know if there's a few shocks in there. If there is, let me know down below. What would you pick? What was your Premier League prediction for this season? Is there any teams that I've missed out that I've overachieved or underachieved? Let me know. But yeah, hope you did enjoy the video. I am going to sign off for now. But if you did like it, as I say, give us a subscribe, give us a like, and hopefully see you again soon.